Today on Smackey's Garage, we're going to be installing speakers on my 2018 F-150. I've really wanted to upgrade these for a while because if you have this truck and you have the stock stereo system, even with a 302A, it doesn't sound that great. There's no bass, the speakers aren't clear, so we're going to do a big upgrade. We're going to install some kicker speakers on the front door and rear doors of this truck. Now, before you start this project, make sure you go ahead and watch this entire video because you're going to see that there's a lot of little things that don't need to work and little adjustments that need to be made to make this work well. All right, so in this kit, comes with everything you need, supposedly. The one thing that I did add is that I did end up buying some Dynamat because I do want to use this to make sure that nothing rattles around in there. It's a good time when your door's open to make sure that everything is taken care of and there's no extra rattles. Also, with these speakers, it comes with the 6x9 kickers plus the 6.5 kickers for the front and rear. It also comes with these brackets to install them, so it's going to be setting it outside the door a little bit. You don't need to cut anything, you don't need to make any modifications, but one thing that I want to make sure is when I do install these, there's no rattling with them. So making sure that I get some material around here is important. So like I was saying, it comes with the speakers. The kit also comes with the wiring harnesses to plug into your normal wiring harnesses for the front and the rear. And then it comes with grills, which you don't need. So includes everything. We're going to go ahead, we're going to take apart two of these doors. I'm going to show you how to do a front door and a rear door, and then we're going to go ahead and see how it sounds. All right, we're going to go ahead, we're going to start with the front door here. It's a pretty simple project. All you really have to do is take everything apart. And by take everything apart, I mean just really take this door panel off. So you do have this black piece up here if you have a XLT model that needs to come off. This you can just pry off. After you pry it off, just these pins, there's going to be a bolt down there that we're going to have to take off, plus a few more, and then some trim pieces here to take this all apart. So I do like starting with the harder parts first. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take off the trim pieces. And there's two pieces that we need to come off, other than this one that's up here. All right, so we need to take apart this piece right here, plus one of the pieces that's underneath here. We're gonna do this piece first. Typically, I like to lift from underneath here and just get some space. There's a lot of, you can buy trim tools to do this. I would definitely recommend getting trim tools to do this because you've the least amount of force and you can do all this, and the least damage, the better. But there is a spot here for a screwdriver or a trim tool to go in, and then we could go ahead, pry that up a little bit. And after that is off, we're going to pull the front forward. Okay, now with that popped off, we're going to pull back. This piece comes that way, so bend out this way and in and out. Now these two screws are exposed. Those are what we need to get to. For this piece down here, I like using this tool. You can get it from many different brands. This one's from Tresalto, but I also have the F-150 LEDs ones, who sponsored a lot on this channel. Either one will work. Just gotta get it behind it. I like to rotate like that, and then pull, and then you're off. Okay, so now everything is visible. Now the screws we're gonna have to take off, you're essentially taking this panel off. So wires plus screws. It's gonna be one there, 1, 2 up here, 2 there, because I need to take this out to get the panel off. And then there's going to be a bunch of small ones up and in here that need to be removed. So these small ones up here are going to be 7mm. These are going to be a little bit bigger. All right, now with everything taken off, you just have to lift and disconnect this. And then when you do that, you're going to have to disconnect the wiring and this handle to make sure that everything, you can take this door panel off. So it should be just pull out on the bottom and check for the wiring. To get this, all you have to do is really push this out, and then as you push that out, this just slides right out. All right, so we have the speaker. You can see I do have the boost mirrors in here, so I do have this extra piece. This I'm going to need to move and do something else with, but the original speaker's in here. It's really cheap. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to take this out. One connector here, which is going to go to the new connector for the speaker, and then I'm just going to take out these screws. They look like they're 7mm as well. Those 4 out, the speaker can come out. And now we have the space for the speaker, and this is where we're going to put some of that Dynamat material. You can see it does have these rubber dampers here that these screw into, but just for extra, I'm just gonna put some around the outside. So I'm gonna take these, I'm gonna trace them. You know, it'd be nice if the Dynamats didn't come rolled up, but it is rolled up. So this is what we're gonna be using. Okay, we're gonna get this fit to the door, and we're gonna go on to the next step. Okay, so as you can see, gold not perfect, but on there to hopefully reduce some of the vibrations. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna get the bracket on here, and then we're gonna get the speakers in with it. So I think I'm gonna try the bracket first, and then the speaker. All right, now that I have the wiring in there, I'm gonna go ahead and push this in. Actually, I'm just gonna leave that out, just less to rattle around. Gonna connect this to the back of the speaker, and then put the speaker in place. These connectors aren't exactly that tight, so I'm actually gonna clamp them down first before I put them in place. And get the right size screwdriver. The speaker's gonna be rattling, you don't want these coming out, so good to double check to make sure that these are tight before you put them in. And if they're not tight, crimp them down, make sure they're making contact. So really the only way to get these in place is to have these wires go in, which in turn would rattle against the back of the speaker. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is actually cutting and extending these wires and then keeping these on the outside. After I did crimp this in place, this one did break, so it needs to be fixed anyway. So I guess I'm going to be soldering these in place. All right, so I'm in, and everything seems to be in place. You know, the hardware that they give you actually is the wrong size. So the screws that I put in, so I had to use my own hardware. The screws that they gave you with it, actually I have some back here. So the screws that they give you to put into this are actually not big enough. I mean, for self-tappers, there's probably supposed to be around 167, 160, but they're around 150, and they just like literally fall through. So over time, they're gonna vibrate out of place. So I had to find some other hardware. So I was actually able to use a few of their screws to hold it in the door because it's actually tighter there because it's a different mounting method. And I had to kind of makeshift, use different screws here to get that to fit and to stay in place, to not vibrate. I've checked it, I powered it on, it doesn't vibrate at all. So all I really have to do now is get this door back together, and then it should be good to move on to the back. So doing the passenger side door right now, jumping back to this, it looks like they do give you 2 wires to help extend this and to make this longer to be able to plug in. So I did this. So this will now reach without issue. One of the things that I'm finding as I'm doing this is it's best to add these screws before and to put this in after. I mean, we talked about it a little bit before, but all the hardware that they give you for these are horrible. So I ended up putting in 4 of my own screws here. I believe these are number 8 screws, these might actually be number 6 screws. And then they go down and I have a nut holding them in place. You know, with this, it holds it nice and tight. I would definitely recommend putting this together outside of the truck before you go ahead and install it in the truck, because modifying this and modifying these brackets definitely have to happen, and getting new hardware also has to happen. All right, now for the passenger side, it's gonna be identical to the driver's side. All we have to do is take this panel off. We gotta take off this here. We gotta take off the plastic. There's gonna be 2 screws behind this, 2 screws behind this. The 2 screws on the bottom, there isn't the piece up here, so we don't need to take that off. And then just disconnect this the same way and disconnect the power to this. We should be able to get access to the speaker. And it should just really be that easy. All right, now that is just 3 bolts to take it out, and there's 1 connector underneath it. Okay, this thing weighs like air. For the rear speakers, you can see the quality difference. I mean, these kicker ones are just so much better. They're so much heavier, so much bigger of a magnet. They're going to sound better. And this is what we're gonna have to replace. All right, now after looking at these speakers, we gotta mount this one into the bracket. And to do that, we're gonna have to make some modifications. We don't have to modify the speaker itself, but we're going to have to use different screws to hold it into the bracket. All right, so there's two different options. You can either put a number 8 screw down here that's about 1.25 inches with a nut to hold this in place, or you can use larger self-tapping screws to hold the speaker on. But either way, the hardware that they give you just sucks and it doesn't work, so you're gonna have to find a different way to put it together. But the holes are lined up in the right location. All right, so self-tapping screws in. These are definitely gonna hold it a lot better than the previous hardware that they send me, so just make sure you get some new hardware for this. These are, I think, 832 screws, and I just tapped into the plastic, and it's holding it pretty well, but it's something I'm gonna need to watch out for. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm also gonna put nuts on the back here just to hold it, just to make sure nothing kind of slips out, but this should be ready to go in now. The last thing that I need to do when I do this is I actually need to drill a hole to be able to get the wires from this out. So we'll drill a hole somewhere here on the side. You know, I think I'd use a 3/8 bit, drill that, and then you should be all set to get the wires from the in to the out, because there is no place to move the wires through here like there was on the other one. It's probably better to do this without the speaker there. But at least now I can just pass the wires through and connect everything. And there we go. We're ready to go together in the truck. Okay, so since we prepped this already inside, all I really have to do is put it in place and screw it in and plug it in. Then with that complete, I can just plug it in, go ahead, test out the speaker, make sure it works, there's no rattles, and then I can just go ahead and put the door back on. And to put the door back on, just like the others, you put this in, you put this in, and that is it. All right, everything's now hooked up. I'm gonna clean everything up, then we're gonna go ahead, fire this up, get some first impressions, and then we'll go ahead and I'll give you impressions after driving it for like a week or so. So let's go ahead, let's cut to that. So I actually have the speakers installed in the car now. I've had it in here for a few weeks and they sound really good. Like, compared to stock, they are significantly better. You know, they're not perfect, like there isn't a lot of deep bass like you would get from a subwoofer, but from a speaker that's an upgrade that's a reasonable price, this is a huge upgrade. Like I was saying, I've had these speakers in the truck now for a little while and they sound fantastic. I think the bass is significantly better than the stock ones. Overall, the treble is a little bit higher. You definitely have to go in and play with the equalizer to get everything to sound good again, because the stock speaker setup just didn't work. Now, bass is good. Definitely not like you have a subwoofer in here, so it still could use a little bit more bass, but they do really sound good. Now, I really like this setup. I'm interested to hear what it sounds like if I add the kicker subwoofer. If you want me to go ahead and do that, let me know in the comments. I think the one thing that I like a lot of bass in my music, so adding that will probably be very helpful. And overall, I'm really happy with the way that these sound. The kit itself could have come with better hardware, so my recommendation would be to buy the kit, but put it together on the bench first, like the speakers onto the mounts, see how everything fits together, make sure you have the right hardware before you start taking your truck apart, because luckily I did have the right hardware here, so I was able to do that and get everything together nice and easy. But if you don't have it, it's gonna be a pain and you're gonna have to go out and get the hardware to build it. So thanks for tuning in this week on Smackey's Garage. I appreciate all you watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video. I'll see you next time.